Let's screen business and immigration law updates. This is presented here by the Khurana Law Firm, whereby the Chief Attorney and Counselor at Law is Attorney Ramesh Khurana. The moderator here is Attorney Kenneth Haber from Boyd's, Maryland. On this Good Saturday morning, these two brilliant attorneys have a set of questions regarding FOIA and resolving some immigration issues. Let's take a look.
Hello, I'm Kenneth Haber. I'm a former Assistant United States Attorney and a former Senior Attorney in the Office of Inspector General of the United States Department of Health and Human Services. I'm here today interviewing Ramesh Khurana. Ramesh is a fantastic immigration attorney. He literally world-renowned. He has clients from across the world come to him. He has his offices in Gaithersburg, Maryland, and he's here today to answer some of the questions that you have in your mind. Welcome, Ramesh.
Thank you, Ken. I appreciate a very generous introduction for me.
It's all true. It's all true.
Thank
and
you.
From my heart. And this is the Capitol Forum.
Thank you.
Ramesh, let's pick your brain about the FOIA.
I know at some point you are actively involved with FOIA in your former role as Assistant United States Attorney.
Actually, as a Senior Attorney in the
Senior
IG's
Attorney
office.
in the Office of OIG office. Yeah. Okay. So don't ask me very difficult questions.
Well, I'd sort of tweak some answers out of you that might be, questions that the viewing public has.
Yeah, sure,
okay?
Sure. I'll be very happy. I tell you, Ken, as you love this topic is very close to my heart, especially when we are talking about immigration-related federal agencies, because federal agencies have basically all records for all aliens who started their immigration process maybe from H1, and now they are trying to become green card holders, or they are trying to become US citizens. Everybody has a history, everybody has a record, and most of the people, they are not just careful, or they are not well organized in keeping their record state. And when you ask them questions where they have come to your office for seeking some immigration benefit, they are unable to answer those questions. So what do you do as an immigration lawyer? You want to know everything.
Absolutely.
No area should be a dark area to you.
No.
So first thing we do is get the records under FOIA.
Absolutely.
Because this is your right to have access to the information. Why not?
Absolutely.
But sometimes people come so late in the process that there is virtually no time to apply for FOIA. So first thing I would like to tell the audience is keep your records state under your control. You never know when you might need certain documents. Even when you have been given the citizenship, they may come back and ask you some questions about your immigration history. Never throw away your immigration related documents. These are precious documents. Keep it in a safe place.
Absolutely. I couldn't say it any better for clients of mine.
Thank you so much.
But could you please explain possibly to those in the viewing audience as far as what the Freedom of Information is, what it does? I think they've got an inkling of it at this point in time, but where did it come from? What's the purpose of it?
Ken, as I said in my introductory statement, the Freedom of Information Act gives everybody a right to have access to his or own record. Again, these are your personal records. You cannot seek records of your neighbor. A husband cannot seek record for his wife. Wife cannot seek record for her husband. You have to just talk about the documents which belong to you, because privacy is fully absurd. Because when you are talking about what are the exemptions, because they can say that this pertains to national security, or there may be an invasion of privacy issue. Those kinds of documents are not released, or sometimes there are certain comments by these federal agencies, they will just redact them. before those documents will be released.
That's for certain. Is the procedures for obtaining these records different for the different immigration agencies, or is there uniformity in that?
Ken, this is a great question. Every client should know. Sometimes for the same issue, you are dealing with the State Department and you are also dealing with USCIS, or you are dealing with CBP. Now, CBP, by the way, is the federal agency which welcomes you when you come to the United States and knock at its door and request that please admit me to the United States, which is the port of entry. Airport, or you are coming by ground, maybe you are coming at Canadian border. The CBP officer is going to interview you and he is going to determine like who are you and whether you are basically authorized to enter the United States or not, irrespective of the visa status, or you are a green card holder or you are a US citizen, but you are coming through the queue. So, when you say that procedures, answer is yes. Every agency has its own procedure, like how to apply for it. So, there are separate applications form to make applications for them. Like I tell you, CBP allows the online filing. You just go on the website of cbp.gov and just click FOIA. You will see the application, very short and sweet application form, and you can apply online and you get the acknowledgement, and this is how you move forward.
Very good. In regard to the FOIA, it's often said that nothing is public. Are there any exemptions in the FOIA that keep things from being public?
Yeah. You know, again, we talk about certain situations that invasion of privacy. You cannot seek information about the third parties. But under immigration, there are certain situations where you can get hold of certain documentation. Let us say that an employer filed the perm application for the employee. Now, this is considered to be a property of the employer, and they also filed I-140 petition, which is the immigrant petition. Based on that, if as an applicant you have filed the adjustment of status application and then you want to have access to your adjustment of status, which would have basically your perm application and I-140, answer is probably you will get them, but otherwise you won't be able to get them, because these are not considered your documentation or your information. Likewise, if there is something which is not being released because of national security concerns, which is very important to our country, they want to keep certain information confidential if it threatens the national security of the country. So, those kinds of documents are also not released.
I had to wait 50 years to get some of my documents.
Yeah.
They had to get declassified.
Yeah, I know. That's right.
What's the best strategy to obtain USCIS records in a prompt fashion?
Best strategy and in a prompt manner. The buzzword is, if you know what you are missing from your file, just ask about those copies. Let us say that at some point you are holding H-1B status and you do not have a copy of H-1B petition, and if you want to ask for a copy of H-1B petition, just ask for that. Or you do not have a copy of I-130 petition which you filed for your spouse, and you need a copy of that, like what facts or information you incorporated in that application, just ask for a copy of I-130. Now, for J-1 visa status, sometimes I come across situations where the beneficiaries of J-1 status, they lose copies of Form DS 2019, and when they lose it and they want to apply for J-1 waivers, and if they are to apply for that, they need to provide copies of Forms DS 2019, and they cannot. So, in that kind of situation, The trick is just ask for a copy of Form DS 2019. Don't ask for anything else if you don't need it. That way, officer will be very cooperative with you, very helpful to you, and you can get a copy of this kind of single form probably in a matter of days. Otherwise, you are waiting for 10 months or more than a year. Never ask for a copy of the complete A file. You know, A file is for every alien. When you create your history in this country, USCIS will keep one file which is called the A file. So, if you ask for a complete copy, it is going to take years. So, that is the suggestion, that is the advice.
When you're seeking a release of a CBP document, is it helpful for certain purposes?
In certain situations, yes. Let us say that a determination of inadmissibility has been made against a person, and that person doesn't know why this inadmissibility determination was made by the CBP officer when he came from overseas visit to this country. So, you like to know the reasons so that you can fix that problem. So, as an immigration lawyer, if somebody tells me that he is being stopped at the port of entry every time he goes out of the country, which is a matter of concern, because when you come to the airport, then if your record indicates some kind of red flag, the officer who is on the front corner, CBP front desk, he is going to say, please move to the side. That means you are being escorted to the desk for the secondary inspection, which is going to take sometimes hours. You know, most of the airports would say, once we are done with other routine matters, once we are dealt with the other flight passengers, we are going to talk to the people in secondary inspection. So, it takes hours, sometime, depending upon how many CBP officers are available at the airport at that point of time. So, you like to know what are the reasons you are being stopped. Then you take the support of FOIA. You apply under FOIA the documents relating to your history, you get hold of them, and if you were interviewed, they will have a transcript for you when you were interviewed. Then an experienced immigration lawyer, by going through that transcript, would be able to make a determination like what's the reason that he is being stopped at the airport, and then probably certain initiatives or steps can be taken to address those issues.
Can you try to correct errors in the files?
Oh, definitely. Sometimes these are just inadvertent mistakes, and those records were not intended to be there, but they just got into at that place. So, you have to prove that these records don't belong to you, and those error records can be removed and fixed.
You can actually go into U.S. District Court to get those fixed.
No,
of
in
the
fact,
agency.
first of all, you are dealing with CBP, because when you access those records, then you have to work with CBP.
Right.
Because these records are in the custody of CBP.
Right, right. Is it possible to obtain FBI records that are in the custody of CBP?
You know, yes, it is possible, because FBI records would have records of arrests and convictions both for the federal and state court systems. But one thing you have to remember, if arrest or conviction records, they have been expunged, these records are not going to be there, but you are still required to disclose them for the immigration purposes. So, that is why you have to remember that.
Very good, very good. Do they ever refer you over to the FBI and send the records there and say to the FBI, you know, somebody made this request and, you know, you respond to them?
Yeah, you know, usually what happens is that whenever you apply for any immigration benefit application, now you are called for the biometrics. So, you will be asked to appear at the sports center application of USCIS, and they will take your picture and they will take your fingerprints, and these are in turn passed on to the FBI, and then FBI would examine those fingerprints. And based on that, they will submit the report to USCIS. But otherwise, if you are not aware about any record and you want to access them, you can also apply as a private attorney. You are a defense lawyer, nobody knows better than you do. You can apply to FBI. They charge close to $200 or so, depending upon what's the ongoing fee, and you can get hold of those records.
I'd really like to thank you for coming on in and sharing these insights with our viewing audience.
Thank you very much, Ken, for inviting me. It has been a great pleasure to answer your questions.
Well, thank you.